Hi, students. Chapter 11 has to do with fine motor development, and it talks about manipulatives. Whenever I think of fine motor development in children, I often think of scissors, pencils. Of course, we know those are fine motor skills. And I've had more than one parent come to me over the years and they would ask me, why can't my child hold the pencil right? We're talking 3-year-olds, even 4-year-olds. And I would kind of encourage them and help them to understand that first, whenever a child is holding a marker, a pencil, especially at 3, what you're going to see is you are going to see this. This is how they hold the pencil or whatever it is. It's called the fist grasp. And that's the way typically that they will hold these items. So, I tell parents that it's part of their development to hold it with the fist grasp first, and they will progress into what is known as the pincer grasp. Okay, that's typically how you write and I write. And it looks like this. You're holding the pencil or whatever it is between your thumb, index finger, and third finger. Have you ever thought about how hard that might be for young children to manipulate that and to do that? I've had children in the past in my classroom, they were 5 and they were still doing the fist grasp. When they're 5, you want to kind of help them maybe try to move on, but one thing you must not do, and that is insist that they use the pincer grasp before they're ready. I had one little boy, he was going into kindergarten the next year, and he just insisted he was using his fist. So I kind of let him go ahead with that, but I really encouraged him to try using the other way. One thing I didn't do was say, oh, you have to learn how to do this before you get to kindergarten. I never used that. It sounded like a threat or whatever, and I just never did that. I knew that even if they went into kindergarten using a fist grasp, that they would learn how to use the pincer grasp as they worked with it. But I certainly gave all my children opportunities to do that pincer grasp. Another thing I did, and this was really good for children with special needs, was, have you ever seen the grippers? I don't have any here at the house to show you. I have them at school. They go right on to the pen or pencil, and it helps children grip it. And a lot of times that can be a way to really help these children develop that pincer grasp. But you don't want to even start thinking about that till they're 4, 4.5, 5 years old. So it's not something you should focus on. But when you see a child at the table doing the fist grasp, let them be, okay? And as they develop, you'll see when they may be ready to start using the pincer grasp. Another thing you can do that will help is use the big-sized markers, big-sized pencils, big-sized crayons. These are used for 2-year-olds, and often 3-year-olds will still use the bigger size. It just makes it easier for them to grasp before they develop into the pincer grasp. All right, what about scissors? I've had parents come to me and say, my child needs to learn how to cut. All they do is just make these snips on paper. I want them to learn to cut. Well, a lot of times children will come into a center never having had scissors in their hand. Unless you've heard of these horror stories of parents who have said, my child cut his own hair last night. That's what's wrong with this child's hair this morning. So they kind of like to stay away from letting their children mess with scissors. So when they come into a center, they may have never done it before. So you must always have on hand what we call the blunt-tipped scissors. Of course, they have safety issues too, but blunt scissors are what you want to see young children learning to use scissors. What I have here is the sharp point. No, you would not give sharp point scissors to children, young children. It's just totally out of the question. So every center will have the appropriate scissors on hand. Another kind you might often see too are scissors that have 5 holes. And if you've never seen them before, you may wonder, what in the world are there 5 holes for? Actually, I called these helping hand scissors. Children are learning to cut, okay? So the child you might have to help them put their fingers in the holes, okay? And then the other holes would be the two that the instructor or teacher can use. And what she does is hand over hand help those kids cut. Okay, the first thing you will see children do with scissors, snip. This is what you want to see them doing, snipping. That is the first thing in their development that they will try to accomplish once they get scissors in their hand. Oh, and they may be using them upside down. They may have their fingers in the wrong. I've seen children go like this. In fact, it's very common to see them, I call it upside down, okay? It's upside down, but they experiment and they do it. And I don't correct it, okay? When they get along in their development a little later on into 4 years old, I will often kind of sit with them and watch them and suggest, have you ever tried doing it this way? And I would help them put their fingers in the right way and see what happened. Once they have the snips under control, they are going to want to cut everything in sight, which is good. So you have plenty of scrap paper around. What I would do would cut paper into strips, maybe strips, I'll show you, about like this, okay? And children, when they were in the next phase, would be able to actually cut those. Oh, and then the next thing they would love to do, why don't we try gluing these pieces on paper? And we know about glue, don't we? We know that if you let a child have the glue bottle, there is going to be glue 20, 30 times more than they need. It's just a developmental thing. And to try to get them to put just the right amount on the paper, forget it. I've had children put glue all over their paper. And when I saw this happening, a lot of times they would automatically start to feel it and then get it all over their hands and put it all over the paper. To me, that was a good thing. I didn't stress out about that. Eventually, I'd maybe give them a paintbrush. Or sometimes, in the few instances where we were just about out of glue and hadn't gotten any more, I would put some in a little cup. And that would be the glue that they had to use. It kind of helped with how much they wanted to use. And I know a lot of teachers were upset. They were wasting glue. I didn't think it was wasting. I thought it was experimenting, exploring, what can this glue do? What can I do with the glue? Especially when I can cut pieces and put pieces on another sheet of paper. That's pretty awesome. In fact, scissors alone are really awesome to children because most of the time they haven't had a lot of opportunity to use scissors. So when they come in and realize that, hey, I can use scissors, I can cut snips, I can cut paper, how exciting is that? When they get to be 4, you'll see them start to hold their left hand, okay? Hold their left hand with paper. And suppose there's a circle there. This is where a teacher can facilitate children, and you model it for them. If you keep modeling it for them, they're going to see, oh, you turn the paper when you cut, okay? You turn the paper when you cut. And they get that idea, and pretty soon they're able to cut out circles. And by all means, don't think they can cut exactly on the line. That is not expected, nor is it developmentally appropriate. Within 1/4 of an inch or so on that circle line, you'll see a lot of times they go from the circle, then they go to the square where they really have to turn that paper certain directions. Then 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds can cut out the triangles and other shapes that they might be given to cut out. So that's all about scissors. Definitely let children use them, let them experiment with it. And when you see they're developmentally ready, you can assist them with maybe the appropriate finger placement for scissors. All right, manipulatives. You need to know what they are. And I think of manipulatives as anything children can work with, move around with their hands. Okay, with their hands. It's development of their hand, their fingers, their wrist, and there will be certain terms in your chapter 11 that you will become familiar with when we refer to fine motor development. Manipulatives in the classroom, there should be so many manipulatives. There should be manipulatives in every center. Every center. Things that children can pick up, turn, use, explore with using their hands. We think of puzzles, table toys, loose parts. Loose parts are awesome for manipulatives, especially those round colored glass beads. I just love. You can find them in packages in so many places. Those are great. So anything that children can do with their hands, we refer to as manipulatives. All right, I think that's all I have today. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.